to the 7113 interchange south of the city of Mansfield and then continue moving off to the northeast. And again, this does have a history of producing some wall clouds, low-hanging circulating clouds in the structure of the storm. Something else that's very important to note, and I want to emphasize this a little bit, these storms are coming with very heavy rainfall. Very intense rain is coming out of this. And you can see the bright red color. That's an indication of the density of the storm. But when we look at rain rates, we've got some pretty impressive numbers that have been showing up with these storms, which are going to be very efficient rain producers. And we're talking about 2 3/4 inch per hour rain rates. That is a deluge. That is going to slow things down on the roads. It's also going to mean you will not see circulations. You will not be able to go out on the back deck and look for the tornado. So don't even try it if you're in this area. Please get to shelter first. We'll deal with all the other dramatic things in just a few minutes. But really, this heavy rain is a huge problem in this whole thing. And you can see this entire thunderstorm complex going clear up into Mansfield is indeed very heavy rainfall. But by and large, the heaviest rain right now is just to the west of Mansfield, where that particular circulation is located. We also have some severe thunderstorm warnings to talk about, and I do want to pop out, and we're going to kind of get caught up on where we are with those elsewhere in northeast Ohio. That one storm that is sitting in Medina County is still producing very heavy rain in the Lodi area, and that will continue to track up toward the city of Medina itself, and then eventually off toward Hinckley and Brunswick Hills. We also have severe thunderstorm warnings for the rest of Ashland and Richland counties. Now, those severe thunderstorms, yes, they're producing very heavy rainfall. We have the possibility of some small hail with them and high wind gusts, but also you see that these particular thunderstorm warnings have red outlines, and that means that not only are these thunderstorms severe, but tornadoes are possible within that severe thunderstorm. So the National Weather Service has these tools. They're called impact tags, and they can really hone in on threats for individual storms, and they can kind of give a clue as to what the greatest threat is at a certain point and if we need to be thinking about anything else. And yes, they said that there is not only that severe thunderstorm threat, which means 58+ mile-per-hour winds, 1 inch or greater hail, but also the possibility that we could have some tornadoes. So let's get back into Richland County and talk a little bit more about that, because this storm continues to inch its way off to the northeast. So a couple things to note on the circulations here. You can see we've got a circulation north of the city of Mansfield. That's one to watch. That's where the severe thunderstorm warning is located with a tornado possible. And you can see kind of how diffuse that pattern is. Whereas this circulation just north of Belleville has a little bit more definition to it. It's a little bit better organized, and that's why the tornado warning was issued rather than just a severe thunderstorm warning with a tornado possible. So the National Weather Service is still very much keeping a very close eye on this. They did knock out Holmes County, which was initially, I think, just the corner, this corner of Holmes County was tagged in the tornado warning, but that has just been canceled. So they're just basically saying southern Ashland, southern Richland County, and they're continually updating these warnings now. So that really helps us to kind of keep track of where we are as this whole system is continuing to move along. Yep, Anthony?
From the National Weather Service, they just received a report of a funnel cloud.
Okay.
This is just to the east of Lexington and Richland County. This
Yep.
is at 445.
That's right where we are, just north of Belleville. Remember, we were talking about the Lexington Public Track as we get back in here. So there's that Lexington Public Track. State Route 13 is right here. State Route 13 and Orchard Park Road right now is where this particular circulation is. You can see it's rather broad. We don't have a super defined thing, but we are also dealing with a radar beam that is sitting at about 7,500 feet above the surface. So we may be overtopping the more defined circulation that's at the base, which is what we're really worried about, because that's what would be touching the ground. But Lucas, up here, obviously you folks need to be getting into your safe spot because this is trending off to the northeast. And as it does so, we have had those reports of the funnel clouds and the storm spotter that was out there, which we have a lot of first responders that are there. that are keeping an eye on this too, as best they can. It is rain wrapped. There's a lot of rain that they're trying to figure out how it's all working, but a funnel cloud attempting to form with a tornado warned storm. That is this one right here. So we are just north of Belleville on State Route 13, south of Mansfield, continuing to move to the east, and you can kind of see how it's jumped again. So we should be getting updates on this radar picture about every 2 minutes or so, depending on the scan rate that the National Weather Service has programmed in. And you can get 1 to 2 minute scans, which is a lifetime compared to 10 years ago. So things have just been constantly upgrading and getting better. Downtown Mansfield, city of Mansfield, you are not in this, okay? So you are just north of that. Belleville, you are just south of it. So we're between Belleville and Mansfield, and that would leave us with Lucas, just north of Malabar State Park, Leiter Road, Lucas Perrysville Road, just to name a few of these. State Route 39 goes east to west through here. So if you hear me kind of saying names that you recognize of roads that you drive, you should probably be getting into your safety spot. Want to give a heads up then over the border into Ashland County, Vermilion down to Perrysville, western sections of Ashland County from State Route 60, State Route 95. Those areas definitely need to be heads up, get the kids in, get everybody, to a spot where they can jump real quick into their safety spots, because this continues to move rather quickly off to the northeast. The center of the circulation in this latest radar scan is now just east of I-71. So literally just crossed I-71, continuing to move up toward Lucas. Ruffner Monument over here into portions of Ashland County is kind of a locator that some folks may recognize, but I think for the most part, the biggest next city that's kind of on the map would be Vermilion, which is south of Ashland. And then, and notice that is the Vermilion with 2 L's. The Vermilion with 1 L is up at the lake, so that's a different thing. And a lot of folks get confused about that. But as you can see, we have quite a diffuse area here. We don't have the big, giant supercell looking signature that we have seen in the past out in this area, even within the last month. This is a smaller amount of wind that we're looking at right now. It's not as organized, but we know that this has a history of producing those funnel clouds, and we very well could end up having a tornado that touches down. This is a very tricky kind of a storm system to keep an eye on, because it's evolving. Number one, it's just popped west of us, and it's moving in. It's moving into an area where we've had good heating today. Temperatures have been in the 70s, a very brisk southerly wind, and that all feeds into these thunderstorms. They have a great environment to move into. The one thing we are lacking today that is actually playing in our favor is that the upper level winds are not perfect. So these thunderstorms will grow, and then they kind of get stuffed a little bit. They're kind of stuffy in the upper parts. And so we aren't getting that broader organization where these things just kind of create their own environment and go and go and go. So that's working in our favor, but the problem is we still have plenty of ingredients on the table for these thunderstorms to continue not only to do their thing, but also grow. And we have had some damage reported back in Bucyrus. I saw a little note on the National Weather Service's chat about that there storm report coming out of the Bucyrus area back here, and that's with the part of the storm that is not tornado warned. So now we're dealing with not only the possibility of the very heavy rain, we have hail, we have wind, and then you start to throw in some shear, and we can get the twisting taking place. Lots of lightning showing up, and I put the hail tracker on with the lightning because oftentimes where the lightning is, the hail is, because the hail is helping to get the lightning going. It builds up a lot more static electricity in the atmosphere, and we end up having these huge electrical fields. But there is quite a bit of lightning right now to the east of Belleville, so I would say there's a possibility that we've got some pea-sized hail at least coming out of this. Incredible rain rates with this thunderstorm as it's continuing to move through. This is going to cause an immediate, quick ponding of water on the roadways. But if there's any good news out of it, it's that this is moving rather quickly and there's nothing behind it. So we have just a little window here that we have to get through with this line of severe weather, and then it gets out of here. And thankfully, we have a much calmer day coming tomorrow, even if it is a little bit calmer for us and a little bit cooler. All right, I'm also seeing a circulation down here to the south of Belleville, and look at our little circulation up here that's coming up toward Bailey Lake. So we're starting to see the thunderstorm as it's moving through. You get certain wind flows in the thunderstorm, and they're all competing. They go for the path of least resistance, right? And sometimes where one area of wind has a better chance to get out ahead of the other, you'll have a little eddy that forms, and that eddy ends up becoming a spin-up tornado. And that is where we are right now. We have to deal with that. So we've got this area here in Richland County. It's just about to go into Ashland County, where we have a spin-up possibly in northern end of Richland County. Right around Lucas right now, where we still have a tornado warning, and then south of Belleville, right on the county line, farther to the south down toward Lexington. So, down toward the county line there. And that will continue to move to the east toward Ashland County too. Let me get in and I'll show you a little bit more here. First, we'll go to Lucas because we know that we have a pretty hefty threat there right now. So Charles Mill Lake State Park sits here at I-71 in this major thoroughfare. This is 30 that cuts through here. And US 30, of course, is a pretty good alley for us as far as severe weather potential. For whatever reason, US 30 is like where it goes. So we're going to see this circulation, which is right now just north of Malabar Farm State Park, and continuing to move up into western sections of Ashland County. So if you are in western Ashland County from Vermilion down to Perrysville, now is the time to get to your safety spots. If you're on 511, if you're on 95, you're going to need to get into your safety spots because this thing is coming in. It's coming in fairly quickly. Just about to cross over State Route 603, as you can kind of track with us here. We're getting updates on the radar continuously. And that circulation is on the county line, continuing to move out toward 511. I'll put a storm track on it for you. We're estimating that the wind, that the storm motion is east-northeast at about 40 miles per hour. If we could get rid of the banner, please. Charles Mill at 455, 459 for Widowville, 503 for Vermilion, 510 for Mohican. Can we drop the banner so I can see some cities? There we go. Thank you. And then 512 for Medina. So if you recognize any of these places because you have family or friends there, give them a ring. Tell them they got a pretty hefty storm that is coming in. My guess is they know it because there's a whole lot of lightning and thunder that's involved with this, but certainly that tornado possibility and that tornado potential, we want to make sure that everybody knows where that best potential is. And right now that best potential is out of the city of Mansfield. So city of Mansfield, you are severe clear right now. You still have a very hefty thunderstorm going on, but you at least don't have to deal with the tornado. That is going to continue to move to the east into Ashland County here momentarily, crossing over the county line, heading up toward the Vermilion area, Perrysville, and then eventually over toward Mohican. Want to get back out to the bigger picture. Now we're starting to get some better definition on that. And you can kind of see where the wind field takes us here across northern Ohio. We're starting to see the winds picking up. We're probably starting to get some more rain that's popping in some of our northern counties too. The Medina County storm is no longer severe warned, but we do definitely have some very heavy rain as well as lightning that's going to continue to move up to the northeast. So that cell is in Medina City currently. It's headed up toward Brunswick Hills Township, Hinckley, Sharon Township, and then we'll eventually move over toward areas around Richfield, Gent, down into Fairlawn and Montrose area. Copley, I think you will be just south of that cell. It should graze just to the areas of north of Copley, but that's where Bath gets into play. And then Cuyahoga Falls would be in there too. Farther west, the main line itself, this is where we have a lot of concerns as far as high wind threats. You can definitely see where the biggest cluster of lightning is. That just so happens to also be our most intense thunderstorm currently on the radar. We have 244 lightning strikes in the last 15 minutes just in this view. So that is notable. And of course, that is constantly changing minute by minute. But that intense thunderstorm that is in southern sections of Richland County has been showing signs of rotation from Clearback and Marion, and it does continue to move to the east. So we're just going to kind of continue to be focused in here Let's put some velocities on this so we can keep an eye on, there we go, where our best circulations are, at least on radar. Now we're starting to see some little red blips in there, and that is significant. When we're looking at the velocity data, this is looking at not only the intensity, which is indicated by the brighter colors, but also the direction, which is indicated by red or green. So anything green is generally flowing toward the radar, which is based out of Cleveland. Anything in the reds or kind of the grays is generally flowing away. So if we kind of put that circulation together here, we've got wind going toward, wind going away, and now you can kind of see where we would start to make that circle possible. The problem is we don't really have a super defined rotation here, okay? But that doesn't mean that it's not rotating, because we not only have the greens, but we're just starting to see some reds popping in here, and that is different from what it was 10 minutes ago. There's another little part of this in that this is actually getting a little bit closer to the radar at this point too. So we may finally start to get that radar beam a little bit lower in the thunderstorm to pick up where the higher rotation would be. And of course, it's the rotation at the bottom of the thunderstorm that we are most concerned with because we have that possibility of tornado. So the tornado warning for now continues until further notice. I hate putting an expiration time on anything because it's constantly in flux anyway, but until further notice, that rotation continues to go right over the Richland-Ashland County state line, just east of Lucas now, crossing over State Route 603, getting ready to cross over State Route 39 south of Vermilion, and then State Route 511. It's going to cross over State Route 511 and just north of 39, which I believe runs east to west, and then into this western end of Ashland County. And we just kind of continue to keep up with it as it's moving to the east at about 40 miles per hour or so. We are south of US 30 at this point, so folks just kind of know that. If you're north of US 30, you have a potent thunderstorm that's coming your way, but the tornado potential is greatest south of US 30 in Ashland County right now. And it looks like we are well north of Loudonville at this point, but the problem is there is some circulation that is down in the Loudonville area too. That'd be this batch back here that is just coming east towards State Route 3 and the city of Loudonville. So Perrysville, Loudonville, we have that problem too. And this is where we don't get the luxury of having one point in one storm to track, like when you have a supercell thunderstorm. This is a little bit messier, and unfortunately when you get into this, you kind of have to do broad brush strokes, if you will, and keep an eye on a larger area. So you can kind of see this general circulation that's starting to show up, which means to me we probably have some very high wind gusts coming in here, but we have that possibility of some smaller spin-ups. And then we also have that spin-up that's going on right now just to the east of Lucas and crossing over the county line into southwestern portions of Ashland County. Anthony?
First one's possible funnel cloud reported by train spotter. That's near State Route 13 and I-71. That's in Richland County, just to the south of Mansfield, the one we've been talking about for a minute now. And right now from amateur radio spotter reports of multiple trees down. This is Route 97 between Butler and Belleville.
That's in here. That's what we were just talking about. So 13 and 71, and then Butler and Belleville. So that's this whole area, and that's that circulation that we've been tracking. Thanks, Anthony. You know, Anthony, could you take a peek, take a gander at the Medina County storm? I do want to keep eyes on that. Will you give us an update in just a minute after you do a little analyzing on that? Okay, so just to reiterate here, and when you zoom out, you get a little bit better picture of what's going on. And this is actually getting pretty interesting here. So we have our intense thunderstorm that is just now getting ready to cross over into southwestern portions of Ashland County. Incredibly heavy rain is coming with this. This is just about to go over into the Loudonville area, Mohican State Park. Meanwhile, in Perrysville, and then as you move farther north toward the Vermilion area, that is where our circulation is the greatest at this point. We're getting some new warnings here. Okay, I'll deal with that in just a minute. And so we're really kind of focused on areas, I'd have to put Vermilion in it right now, and south of US 30. But I want you to see the thunderstorm itself is kind of stretched out. So we're seeing this getting elongated a little bit. And then when you look at this velocity data, there's something that I want to note here. We have our circulation that we were watching. This is what went through Lucas. This is what was crossing over 13 and 71 back here between Mansfield and Belleville. So that's the circulation. We've had reports of funnel clouds associated with that. But this longer stretch of wind is concerning because I think what happens is we have a gust front that has come out. So this could be some high-speed straight line wind that is now coming out of the storm and moving into the Loudonville area. And we could be talking about some pretty hefty amount of wind that is going to be straight lining straight into extreme southern Ashland County, but then also a heads up for Holmes County. This is coming your direction. So I'm not seeing small scale defined circulation. This is just a broader big push of wind. And you can kind of almost see how it's connected back into this circulation that is actually tornado warned. So that's an idea to me that we probably have some wind that is somehow coming out of the thunderstorm and beginning to push out, and you end up having a lift, and that lift is that gust front that's going to start to move through. So very interesting radar picture. We also have a small circulation that's up here in northern portions of Ashland County, and that one has held together fairly well. I don't know that we necessarily have eyeballs on that one or reports of funnel clouds at this point, but that has been circulating. It's an intense thunderstorm, there's no doubt about it. Thunderstorms have circulations all the time. They're rotating all the time, but we're just looking for those smaller scale rotations that would be a big problem. And right now that one looks like it's at least something that we have to keep an eye on, but it's you know, a lot closer to the radar, which is probably why we're seeing brighter colors than the circulation that is farther south just coming out of Lucas right now. And this again is just about to cross over into the Ashland County line. It's almost like it's painfully moving slow at this point, even though it's moving at 40 miles per hour. And if we zoom in just a little bit more, let's get a little bit better idea of what we're dealing with here. So US 30 goes right through Vermilion in Ashland County. We're south of I-71, so south of the city of Ashland too. So State Route 60 and 30, okay, that's a pretty big crossroads there in Vermilion, and we're south of that, where we have the circulation, which is sitting right here, just about to cross over State Route 511 to the north of Loudonville. So we're going to split the hairs here between Vermilion and Loudonville. But if you're in the city of Vermilion, please know that you have a very potent storm that is coming in. And if there's any variation or deviation in the movement of this thing as it's coming in, that can really mess things up as far as, you know, your ability to get to where you need to go quickly. That circulation, thankfully, seems to have really fallen apart just in the last scan, which is great news. Hopefully that trend continues. We still have a pretty significant push of wind that's coming through Loudonville right now. That is just about to cross over into northwestern portions of Holmes County too. So I want to check our alerts because I think that tornado warning was either canceled or it has expired. Nope, still there. It is just about to expire. The National Weather Service today is on it. They are canceling stuff right on time. And actually, that's the note that I just got from the Weather Service in the chat. As soon as the line of storms passes, they are canceling the tornado watch as it goes. This entire area was under a tornado watch 30 minutes ago, and now their severe threat is done. So once this line passes through, we will be off to a much calmer, quieter evening. The problem is it's a pretty hefty line, and as it continues to move east through northern Ohio, it will definitely get your attention with not only rain and thunder, but this possibility of the severe weather as well. So a couple areas that we are keeping an eye on. Anywhere where you see clustering of lightning is a pretty good indication that you've got something going on in that thunderstorm. We have one cluster that's just now coming into central Lorain County. We have another cluster that's farther south on the Ashland-Lorain County line. Obviously, then, we have a very potent cluster of lightning just now coming out of Lucas. This is right over Perrysville, and that's going to head over toward the Loudonville area, and then farther south into portions of Knox County as well. Anthony, do you have any updates on that Medina County storm?
Yeah, I'm just looking over Medina County. Again, that storm was tagged with a severe thunderstorm warning earlier, but now it has since weakened significantly and just zoomed in on it tightly. It still is packing a lot of lightning. Well, not a lot, maybe 16 strikes over the past 15 minutes. But it's going to be moving over county lines into southern Cuyahoga County, so north Royalton over to Brecksville, over to Garfield Heights. They're going to have the best opportunity of seeing maybe some lightning and some intense heavy rainfall very briefly with this one. But again, that's good news to the National Weather Service has since canceled that warning system. But now it's still packing a little bit of lightning, but mainly just a lot of heavy rain. But that's going to be the best impacts we have across the metro, at least for the next 15 minutes. As you was mentioning earlier, Betsy, we still have that line of storms off to the west that's going to be moving in, and that's going to be really noticeable. But again, closer to you are to the lake shore, appears to be much calmer and not as severe as we are tracking down to the south. So
that's great news.
Yeah,
all right, we just have a new severe thunderstorm warning that was issued for Ashland, Holmes, Stark, Summit, and Wayne counties. And we'll get to that. I do want to show you traffic is still running fairly smoothly right now. And we do have a few little yellows showing up down in Richland County, so we'll be keeping a close eye on all of that. Here is the new severe thunderstorm warning that was issued. It's a big one, and it does include Worcester and Millersburg, as well as Canton and Massillon. So Wayne County, Holmes County, western portions of Stark County, and also extreme southern Summit County, which would include the Akron-Canton Airport at this point, then Greene, back over toward Clinton Township, Doylestown, you're in this, Smithville, Orrville, Wayne County's county seat, Worcester, and then points farther to the west too, and also south down into Holmes County. So Dalton and Charm and some of the little beautiful burgs down in that way, including the city of Millersburg. The tornado warning itself is back here in Ashland County still. So we have not gotten an update on the particulars of the tornado warning from the National Weather Service as of yet, but we know we have a very potent thunderstorm that continues to move to the east. And just based on what I'm seeing on radar, there is the possibility of some straight line winds coming out of this. The circulations are very small at this point and somewhat weak. They're a little disorganized. This looks to be the most impressive one so far, and that's rather elongated. It's not really well defined, but I would say we likely have the possibility of some high wind gusts, whether it's straight line or it's twisting doesn't really matter at this point, but that is coming into the western side of Holmes County. So that's a big heads up for friends in Millersburg area too, because this is going to continue to move to the east. This particular cell, and you see this line here, so this is where I go back to the idea that we have some kind of a downburst that's coming out because it is a line, and that's a pretty sharp cutoff as far as that wind direction goes. So if you'd imagine the air coming out of these thunderstorms hitting the ground and spreading out, and so we probably have some kind of a gust, and as those winds spread out along the ground, they're going to lift that warm, moist air that we have in place, high humidity air that we have in place, and so we're actually seeing the lifting that's taking place because we can't even see the ground at this point with the radar. So we're just going to take this from Loudonville to Millersburg over toward Walnut Creek and show you some of these places. Ripley at 520, 531 for Millersburg. If we get rid of the banner, please. Thank you. 537 for Salt Creek. There's Charm, 543 and 547 for Walnut Creek. Strasburg, heads up for you folks, and northern portions of Tuscarawas County, Dover, New Philadelphia, Bolivar, Zor, Strasburg getting in on that. That storm is coming your direction, so it's probably not going to take too terribly long. It's 5:09 right now, and it's coming through Walnut Creek at 5:47, so less than an hour. It'll be knocking on your doorstep, so make sure you have a plan in place, start getting everybody together. The good news for Belleville and Mansfield, you are severe clear. City of Ashland is severe clear at this point. We are really focused in the areas south of Ashland in Ashland County, specifically into Loudonville, and then western portions of Holmes County too, where we continue to just kind of keep an eye on this whole thunderstorm complex as it unfolds. We knew we were going to have a busy afternoon, but when you get down into the particulars and exactly where the placement is and how everything starts to interact with the atmosphere and the conditions in place, sometimes things change, and they can change rather quickly, and so that's why this continues to evolve here. So the tornado warning itself does not include Holmes County, but I would have to say at this point we're probably going to see either the National Weather Service issuing that or not, because the line is moving in. I am seeing that they are going to expire the tornado warning, so heads up for our news friends. We are going to kick it back to them as soon as this tornado warning is over here. But my hunch is that we have very strong storms with tornado potential that are ongoing for areas south of Greater Cleveland. West of Cleveland, we still have some pretty hefty storms that are coming down with a whole lot of rain. That's going to be the biggest problem out of it, this intense rainfall. But you can also see where we have a lot of lightning that's going on in eastern sections of Erie County. Hefty thunderstorm in Lorain County that is not severe at this point. We also have a thunderstorm that's on the south flank of Lorain County down around Wellington, just getting to ready to move into the west end of Medina County. And then also up here into Brunswick and Hinckley, we have a pretty potent little storm that's about to cross over into Cuyahoga County, so North Royalton over to Broadview Heights, eventually Brecksville, and then I would have to give the heads up for the folks that are even in Macedonia, because this is going to continue to move off to the northeast. So Richfield may get clipped by that over into the Macedonia and Twinsburg area, and then eventually Solon and Chagrin Falls. So that's kind of down the pike a little bit. But look at the difference between the weather north of US 30 and the weather south of US 30. Much more potent thunderstorms here on the southern flank, where we have severe thunderstorm warnings that continue at this point. And of course, we have very strong storms with inundating rainfall that continue. There's my new severe thunderstorm warning for Holmes, Stark, and now over into Tuscarawas County too. And let's see if they've kicked out the tornado warning. Nope, it's still there, but I think I saw a note. Anthony, double check me on that, but I think I saw a note that they're expiring that Ashland, Richland warning. It's expired. Okay.
Storm warnings.
Excellent. So now we're just moving over to severe thunderstorm warnings. So heads up for Christy and Jay. We're coming to you guys in just a minute. But we do have the severe thunderstorm warning. And again, it's got the red outline. So that means we have tornado possible. Doesn't mean it's confirmed, but we just kind of have things happening in the atmosphere that we could start to see things twisting a little bit. That's Wayne, Stark, Holmes, and Tuscarawas counties. Also extreme southern Summit County, like the southern slice of Summit County here, that does include the city of Greene. So these thunderstorms continue to move to the east, 40 miles per hour or so, high wind gust potential out of this. But I would have to say right now that high wind gust potential is really confined to the southern end of Wayne County into Holmes County, and then eventually over to Tuscarawas County, as we're probably going to see this line kind of holding a more easterly trajectory through those counties. And if I take that right over into the eastern portion of Tuscarawas County, you can see Ripley, East Union. So Ripley at 523, East Union at 541, 551 for Walnut Creek, 605 for Massillon. And what you don't see under the crawl there, but I'm going to tell you, 616 for Canton, City of Canton, 616. But that is not at this point the worst of the storm that's going to continue to move to you, but you will have some very heavy rain and the possibility of some rumbles of thunder and whatnot. So obviously we're keeping a close eye on it, but the tornado warning for Ashland and Richland counties has been allowed to expire. We're going to update a few things, take a look at a few things, and we'll join you back here with an update in just a few minutes. And for now, I'll send it back over to you, Jay and Christy.
Live